number one. There we go.
85.
Sorry?
It's number 85.
Yes, we're here. Okay. So, question 85 in here. Volume, blood volume in blood culture bottles. The blood volumes. This is new. They're coming up with these questions like crazy about blood culture bottle volume. Okay. I'm going to please make sure. I don't know if I have all this information in the handout I'm going to share with you about microbiology. But remember, for an adult volume, it's a 8 to 10 milliliters per bottle. Okay, how many bottles do we take usually?
4 bottles.
Right, 4 bottles, 2 sets, right?
2 sets, 4 bottles.
One set is aerobic, anaerobic.
Anaerobic, and after 2 hours, we'll take one more set, aerobic and anaerobic.
Yeah, one on one hand and the other on the other hand, right?
Yeah.
Within an hour of each other, right? But never less than 3 milliliters. Never. I mean, don't take that as you're allowed to just take 3 milliliters. No, it's never less than 3 milliliters. Always between 8 to 10. Only if there is a special case and you're unable to get the blood, then why? Because they found that there is direct relation between the bacterial growth and the volume of the blood that is collected, right? So if you don't collect enough blood, the person may have bacteremia, but it will not show. That's what I mean by direct relationship between the volume and the positivity of the result. The other thing is for pediatric patients, for a neonatal intensive care unit, and any person that is less than 8 kilos, any child less than 8 kilos, 1 milliliter is the optimal. Okay, you're talking 8 kilograms baby, right? Babies are born at 4 kilograms sometimes, right? Am I correct or am I wrong? Correct. So up to 8 kilograms, 1 milliliter, but not less than 0.5. Because remember, for a newborn like this, any amount of blood is too much blood, right? So, and there is a special bottle for a newborn, for the infants. Okay. There's more details as far as the weights. So the weights between an adult and a child, there are different also weights, weights and what kind of, how much. I think between 8 kilograms and 14 kilograms, there is a certain number.
Quantity of blood is there.
Sorry?
Certain quantity of blood is there, depending upon the weights. Yeah.
Right, so go and review that. Review it. Please go and review it. I just wanted to make sure here that a set is 2 bottles. Which bottle we take first in the one set? Take first.
Aerobic.
Right? We have this question coming up later on, but remember that's also something that come up in questions. Next, alternative fixative to cytospray. You know the cytospray that we use, a cytospray? Alternative fixative is the fluid 95% ethanol. So it comes either in a spray, you can spray the slides, or you can dip the slides. There are 2, cytospray or dipping in 95% ethanol. That is in cytology. What is the positive reaction in blood typing? We call it agglutination, right? You guys know that. Because there are different, there is precipitation, there is sedimentation, but the ones that we have, when the red cells react with the antiserum, we call that agglutination. Which of the following does not affect ESR? We do know the centrifuge affect ESR, that slanting of the ESR tube affect the ESR. affect the ASR is the presence of air bubbles in it, of course. But being in a vertical position, that's how it should be. 90 degrees, standing, vertical, 100%. You should never tilt. The ESR should never be tilted. That's why the ESR should be on a level surface. How to avoid MRSA or other nosocomial infections through ECG testing. MRSA, what do you know about MRSA? Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Where is this bacteria usually found? On the surface of the skin, right? And when you do ECG, the wire is on the patient, right? And you do the ECG in a hospital on one patient, you go to another patient, and another patient, and another patient, right? So how can we prevent nosocomial infection this way?
Wiping them with the disinfectant. Really.
Wipe ECG wire between patients. And wash your hands between patients. The same thing. The same thing as you need to wash your hands between patients, you also need to disinfect the wires from one patient to another, because you will be transferring MRSA bacteria from one patient to the other. MRSA is a methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It is the bacteria that causes a headache in the hospitals because it causes outbreaks in the hospital units. And when the patient is there for one thing, they get infected by another thing.
Sir, can you repeat the meaning of MRSA?
Methicillin,
Okay.
methicillin, which is an antibiotic, resistant Staphylococcus aureus.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so this is a resistant bacteria to antibiotics, and it's hard to kill it when the patient is infected with it. And if you spread it in a hospital, you get a nosocomial outbreak, it's a headache to the hospital. Okay? MRSA. You can look it up, obviously, on Google, very easy. What makes the tissue transparent in histology? A clearing, right? Clearing. What is the clearant, the most common clearant that we use? Xylene. Write it down. Write it down. Xylene. Yes. Okay. This came in a question. Okay? The most common clearant. Xylene. Broken glass should be discarded out. The same thing as a needle. Right? Puncture proof. Sharp container. Correct? That is sharp. Broken glass or a needle. In a sharps container. Fixative used for cytological, non-gynecological specimen. When a patient collects sputum, let's say, for cytology, how do we fix it? What is the fixative that we use? It is 50% ethanol. The commercial name now, it's called Cytolite. Cytolite, that is the most common now commercial brand. That is instead of 95% ethanol as a chemical, they do have Cytolite. The Cytolite has also other chemicals in it, in addition to 50% ethanol or methanol. Okay, Cytolite. But the core chemical in it is 50% ethanol. What is present in urine strip for glucose? Glucose oxidase. This is the enzyme that is used most commonly for glucose determination, whether it is in the urine strip, dipstick for urine testing, or in chemistry for glucose testing in the reagents. Glucose oxidase is the enzyme that is used for the determination of glucose, of course. Okay, so remember that to the point that this came in an exam for you guys. The most abundant immunoglobulin in our body, right, is IgG. How many other IgGs there is in the body? What are the other?
Five.
Yes, IgG, IgM,
IgE, M, A,
E,
E.
and G. Yeah. Okay. So 5 of them. IgG is the most common. IgG represents 75% of the immunoglobulins we have in our body. So you can imagine how important IgG is. Unfortunately, what is the unfortunate with IgG in pregnant women? What's unfortunate? It passes through the placenta. Did you want to say, Raj? You want to say that?
Yes, sir. It's transferred to the placenta of the baby. Yeah.
Because it has a small molecular weight, it is designed to pass from the mother to the baby to protect the child usually. But unfortunately, the anti-RH that develops in a pregnant mother sometimes is made of IgG. And that's the only problem with IgG. It's the most common. Because it is the most common, it is lightweight. It is the Ig of choice that passes through the placenta. Fortunately, it is what anti-RH is made up of, and it goes through the placenta and destroys the red cells of the baby, of the fetus. If you learn that, remember we learned that in a blood bank. Which of the following is not part of the chain of infection? Anyway, so I wrote for you here that the chain of infection, you need an infectious agent, that is a bacteria. You need a reservoir, that is the patient, that is sick patient. You need an exit pathway, that is the mouth, coughing or sneezing, other touching. You need a mode of transmission, right? So the exit pathway is the mouth. The mode of transmission is, let's say, coughing or sneezing. An entry pathway, so the patient that is vulnerable has an entry pathway. Maybe they breathe it, right? And you need to be susceptible as a person to develop infection, right? So this is the pathway. The reason I wrote the pathway here, because there is a question that is asking you, what is not part of the pathway? Okay? If you know what is the pathway, you should be able to discern what is really odd. Yeah? What is the best specimen for urine culture, urine for culture and sensitivity? It's CCMSU. What does it stand for?
Clean catch.
Clean culture mixing.
Clean catch mixing urine. Clean catch mixing urine. That's correct. What is the functional unit of the kidney? Nephron. Nephron is the filter. How many nephrons do we have in our kidney?
1 million.
Over than 1 million. Over 1 million. That's correct. Okay. I wrote for you here. You guys review that. Okay. What can cause hematoma? All of these can cause hematoma. That's for your review. Okay. Just in case, they come up with one option that causes hematoma. There are many. All of these cause hematoma, right? So please read them. Be familiar with them. The purpose of fixation in histology. What is the purpose of fixation? Why do we fix tissue in histology? To prevent autolysis and putrefaction. What is autolysis? What causes autolysis?
Self enzymes which.
That's correct. Self enzymes that do self-destruction, right? This is the way we are designed. We created with self-destructive enzymes. Why is that? So when we die, we go back to Earth, right? This is the way the engineer designed it. You agree with me? That's the way the engineer designed it. We have self-destructive enzyme. When we die, we don't need this body. This body is just to carry who we are, right? It will dissolve back into Earth. back into its original ingredients, the way the engineer made it from, right? Okay. Putrefaction. What is putrefaction? What causes
Destruction of cells by the external factors like
By-
temperature, weather, or something.
by bacteria mainly, right? By bacteria, and that's why we have bacteria inside us. That's another design. The bacteria inside us, we have bacteria on us, and that bacteria degrade us as well. Of course, with the temperature, as you said, Rajwinder, yes. Yes. Sorry, Azra?
I'm sorry, the mic was open.
Yeah. Guys, by the way, just a trick. When you want to speak, all you need to do is press on the space bar, speak what you want, and lift your hand. Did you guys know about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so that you don't inconvenience yourself having to go to the microphone and mute yourself. So it is to preserve in a lifelike manner. This is what now the fixative does that. It prevents the autolysis, it prevents the putrefaction, and also it preserves the tissue in a lifelike manner. You need to remember that lifelike manner. Okay. Okay, we're done with review number 1. Hallelujah. Okay. Okay, we're done with review number 1. You're happy? I'm more happy than you. Let's go to the next one. Any question? We're way behind. We're almost done for today, and we'll just review number. Don't be scared. It's okay. I've been there. I have been there. I just sometimes when I am in the mood when you catch me in a good mood, I will pour out everything I know, and that delays me. Okay. All right.
Sir, I have one question related to the Lancet of newborn.
The Lancet?
Yeah, it's like we have 2 mm, we can puncture the calcaneus, 2 mm or less. But if we have 1.5 mm in options, so what's the best option we can choose?
Sorry, if you have 2 mm as an option and you have what as an option?
It's like 1.5 and then 2.5. So what the best option we can choose?
But definitely not 2.5 for an infant. No. You use 1.5. It's 2.0 or less.
Okay.
That is a guideline. 2.0 or less.
Okay,
Right?
so best option is 2 mm, right?
Yes, it's 2 mm or less. Right? Whichever you have an option you have. 2 or you have 1.5 or 1.8. Either is okay. But you cannot have 2 of them in there. Right? You will not have 2 that are correct. They usually give you one.
I think we had a 2. That's the reason I have this question.
You said you
I
have to
gave my exam first time in last year, so I got confused with this question. It was there.
Okay. This question this means that the question is invalid. That this question is a bad question. If you've done this question, that question is a bad question. That question should not be there. If it has 2 correct options and they're asking you for 1 correct, then that's a bad question. And do we have bad questions? Yes. Who makes questions? Us. Do we make bad questions sometimes? Yes, we do.
Okay, so the best is 2 mm, right? If we have 2 mm option is there, so we can.
Is whatever is correct. That is the best. I cannot say 2 mm. It's 2 mm or less.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
I mean, okay. I don't want to say 2 mm. Yes. What if there's 2 mm and there's, or what if it is 1.8 mm?
So we can go for 1.8 because 2 mm or less, right? We can select the 1.8 mm.
But they will not give you 2 and 1.8.
Okay. Okay.
That's a bad question. That's what I mean is a bad question. It's not a good question. Because you can argue it. That can be argued.
But when we have written the exams in the college, right, we got such question. That's why maybe they are 1.8, 1.7, and 2. So we are confused to choose the answer.
you need to go back to your instructor and tell them this is a bad question, and then they let me know, and then I will go into the master copy on Canvas and I will correct it if I am convinced, and if I go back to the reference textbook and we find that yeah we are wrong, then we will correct it and we'll give you credit, hopefully. Okay, that's what we normally do. That's a normal procedure in the college. That's what the instructors are supposed to do. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's continue here. What is sorry? Distilled water. What is distilled water? So this is actually should be like a question number 100, whatever. I mean, distilled water is condensed steam. You need to know that, right? That's what it is. There is, remember, double distilled. Sometimes we do double distillation, right? You do the distillation twice, okay? By reboiling the water again and condensing it, okay? And that is available. So double distillation is just a water that was distilled twice. And that came in a question, okay? What is to be done in a tissue for histology that must be processed immediately? Do we fix it? Can we fix a tissue like this? No, never. Wrap the tissue with gauze, soaked in saline, right? Okay. Wrap it in gauze, soaked in saline, and refrigerate, and that is for stat histology. Okay? Never ever that we fix a tissue for stat histology. Okay? Never. Okay? Never ever. Yeah. So be careful here. Wrap the tissue with gauze soaked in distilled water. Can you soak tissue in distilled water? What will happen to the tissue in distilled water? What does distilled water do to the cells? What does distilled water do to the cells?
So it can burst?
Yes! Raj, thank you. Thank you. I have someone who is with me and someone who is thinking. Yes. Water is what kind of solution?
Hypotonic solution.
Hypotonic solution. Exactly. So right then and there, distilled water, never. Histology, well, you're going to test the tissue. And if the tissue blasts, the cells implode or explode from the water, how are you going to test them? You can't. It has to be saline. What is saline? 0.85
NaCl.
NaCl. What kind of solution is that, Raj?
Is a hypotonic?
No.
So
Isotonic solution.
Isotonic. Anything above 0.9% NaCl is hypertonic. That would be referred to as hypertonic. Tonic means salty. Isotonic equals saltiness of the fluid of the saline equal the saltiness in the saline is equivalent to that inside the cell. That's why the water moves equally into and out of the cell. However, if you put the cell in a hypotonic, the water go in to dilute the NaCl that is inside the cell, and the opposite happens in a hypertonic. So be careful. There will be also questions about hypertonic, isotonic. Okay, make sure that you know what happens with the cell in these cases. Okay. Contractile protein of the heart muscle. Okay. Remember, when I flex my muscles like this, okay, versus like this. So this is my muscles here are flat. and now they are contracted. What happens in there is that there are filaments that slide against each other to contract the muscle. And those filaments are the actin and the myosin. These are present not only in the heart muscle, but in all of the cells, in all of the muscle cells, muscle tissue in our body. Actin and myosin, they slide against each other. So when I flex my hand, they're sliding against each other, and so the muscle is contracting. Okay. Actin and myosin. The name is actin and myosin. I know you may not cover. I don't know if you covered that in. We talked about it in anatomy and physiology, but this is an anatomy and physiology question that has come for years. I don't know if it will come again. Yeah. In ECG tracing, the visible line represents the resting of the heart. Remember that visible line I talked about earlier in Thursday? That's the one that is. This is the visible line. The line that is between the two waves. It starts at the end of the T wave and before the beginning of the P wave. Okay? So that is the when the heart is at rest. Okay? That's when the heart is at rest. We call it the visible baseline because, as I mentioned, the baseline otherwise during the cardiac cycle is not visible. Right? Okay, next question. What is the magnification of an oil objective? First of all, what are the main oil objectives in the microscope? What are the main objectives in the microscope? Number one, the smallest one.
Next.
Huh?
10x. 1x.
Yeah, 10x. Yeah, okay. I didn't understand what you're saying, sorry. 10 times, that is 10 times, right? What do we call that? Load.
No.
What is the next one?
It's a high.
The high.
Four.
And how many times is magnified, sir?
40 times.
40 times? Yeah, 40 to 45 times. And the next one is how many times? The highest one.
100 times.
100 times. Exactly. We call that oil immersion. Oil immersion. Oil immersion objective. Okay. Now, so we know each of the objectives. These are the ones that come out of the nose of the microscope, right? The three of them. Remember them? Three of them. Okay? One is low, one is high, one is oil. Okay. Now, this is the magnification of each objective. Now, what is the total magnification of the objective and the eyepiece? The objective and the eyepiece. Remember the eyepiece that you look in? How much is the eyepiece usually? What is the magnification of the eyepiece usually?
10.
10. Thank you, Cassandra. You seem to be good. I know you're gonna do very well in the exam. 10 times. The eye objective usually it's 10 times. So when they ask about total magnification of the low power and eyepiece, you always say what?
10x.
No, 10 times is the objective alone. But if you combine the power of magnification power of the eyepiece and the objective together, they magnify how many times?
100,000.
100 times. Okay? 10 times 10. Now, the total magnification power of the 40 of the high power objective and the eyepiece. How much is that? Right? How much is that? How much is that, right?
400.
Right? It's 10 times 40. Total magnification power. So remember, the key word in here is total. If they ask you about the magnification power of the objective alone, it's 10, 40, and 100. But if they ask you about the combination of the low power objective and the eyepiece, that is 10 times 10. The high power and the eyepiece, that is 10 times 40. And the all immersion total magnification power with the eyepiece is 1000 times. This is the maximum magnification for the light or compound microscope that we use regularly in the lab. That is the maximum, is 1000. The oil immersion is the maximum power of magnification. Otherwise, we move on to the electron microscope, which increase by thousands, right? Electron microscope. Are we okay with that, guys? So I wanted to review that because you might get a question on any of those objectives. I don't know. So now we know the difference between the power of the objective and the total power, which includes the eyepiece. Are we good now? Good. Okay. The dominant or natural pacemaker of the heart, remember? That's a node. Yeah. What does percutaneous mean? What does cutaneous mean? Cutaneous means skin, right? Mucosa, the mucosa is this. Any lining like this inside our orifices, it's our mucosa. It's the kind of tissue that releases mucus. We call mucosa, right? Okay. So percutaneous needle stick is a needle stick through the skin, and permucosal infection is an infection that is caused through the mucosa. Okay, so through mucous membranes, such as in sneezing, coughing, splashing. When you splash on the eyes, on the mouth, and so on, and the nose, the infection gets into the person through the mucous membrane. Otherwise, through a needle stick that we might have in our body. Or by rubbing or touching the eyes or the nose or the mouth with contaminated hands, that is called permucosal, okay, infection. Tiny consistent spikes appearing on an ECG tracing. Remember those tiny ones? That tiny ones? Remember we said there is the tiny consistent spikes and they're erratic spikes. What did we say the erratic were?
Muscles
Artifacts. That's correct. And the consistent spikes are the AC artifacts. Excuse me. Okay. The AC artifacts or AC interference, these are the consistent spikes. How many grams of solute are needed to prepare 800 milliliters of 12 grams per liter? Don't tell me what's the answer, but tell me how do we do it? Why? How do we do it? Remember,
We are using the formula W1 over V1 equals to W2 over V.
you're the best, Raj. Okay, let's put it together. So you have W1. Let's put it together. W1 over V1 equals to W2 over V2. How do you do it? Where do we put the numbers?
12 over 1000 grams.
12 grams over 1000 equal.
W2 over 800.
That's right. X over 800 milliliters, right? So we move this up here. So we have 12 grams times 800 milliliters divided by 1000 milliliters. So milli and milli are cancelled. 2 zeros and 2 zeros are cancelled. 8 times 12 is how much?
The answer is 9.6 grams.
96 over 10. 96 over 10 is equal to what?
9.6.
9.6 grams, right? Okay. I'm glad you were able to. I mean, Raj, thank you for volunteering this information. That's correct. I mean, we do use that. So remember here, what they've done in this question is this. Instead of telling you 12% solution, they said 12. No, instead of saying 1.2% solution, they said 12 grams per 1000. Aren't they the same? Is 12 grams per liter equal to 1.2%? Isn't it equal? Is it equal?
Is equal.
It is equal. It's the same solution. In this case, I just have 100 milliliters. In that case, I have 1 liter. But the solution is the same, right? It's just the volume, but the concentration is the same. So when I say 12 grams per liter, it's the same I'm saying 1.2%. You guys agree? So please be careful. In the certification exam, they might challenge you with a question like this, and you don't see percent in there, because the concentration here is really 12 grams per liter. They express it in this way, not in percent. Percent means 100, right? Percent means 100. So 1.2 over 100 is the same as 12 over 1000. Isn't it the same thing? Same thing. So if you are rocky with math and this kind of understanding, you will not be able to solve this question. You will struggle maybe. I don't know. But again, like Raj suggested from the beginning, let's just go to the formula, W1 over V1. Don't worry about the percentages and so on. Just apply the... Now remember, you always keep the two numbers. As I mentioned earlier, keep the two numbers that belong together. 12 grams per liter is 12 grams per 1000 milliliters. Right? Same thing. Okay. Just keep that in mind. Okay? And don't fall in the trap and get confused. Okay? In the certification exam with such questions. Don't let them confuse you. Okay? How many containers needed to pack an infectious substance to be transported under TDG, transportation of dangerous goods? There usually are 3. So you have the main container, that is the tube. Second is the second is the Ziploc bag. Okay, that's a second. And the third is the plastic container that you that
तुम्हारा पिक्चर तुम्हारे पास से
So the third container is the plastic cylinder that we twist cap, that has a twist cap and a seal, so just in case, right? So these are the three, and of course we package them in a box, usually, whatever. But these are the three packages. What is the principle that is involved in spectrophotometry? Okay, now the principle is Beer's law. You guys learn about Beer's law?
Yes.
Beer's law? Yeah, Beer's law states, what does it state? It states it says that there is a direct proportion, direct proportional relationship between the concentration of a sample and the color, intensity of the color, there's direct relationship between the intensity of the color and the concentration of the substance that we are measuring. Okay, a substance concentration. So if you're measuring glucose, the glucose color usually, from what I remember from the early days when I used to do manual chemistry, the color is pink. So when I'm looking at my patients in the rack, in the tubes, and I see all of them are pink, but one of them is very dark pink, I know right away that this tube has a very high glucose, that the patient is very diabetic. Why? Because I could see the color. That's Beer's law. Beer's law states the intensity of color, reaction color, the intensity of the reaction color is directly proportional to the concentration. The lighter the color, the lower the concentration. The higher the color, the darker the color, the higher the concentration. Are we good with that, guys? We're fine? Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Medium used for Campylobacter. Campylobacter, it's easy to remember. The medium that we use is called Campi. Campi, this one. That is the most common one. CAMPY, Campi. But there is a trick about it. It is anaerobic, and it is the incubation, the temperature of the incubation is 42 to 43 degrees Celsius. Okay? For the Campylobacter. Right? So remember, Campi, but it is anaerobic and the temperature is higher. This is an exception. So remember this as an exception. Because normally, what is the temperature of the incubator?
27 degrees.
37 degrees. Exactly, plus or minus. Now, there is another one. Remember, there is more than one option usually to grow a bacteria in the lab, a particular bacteria in the lab. So there is another option, which is called VCA. The VCA is a newer kind of a media. It can be used, so either you use VCA or the Campi. Campi is the most common that I've seen around in the hospitals and in microbiology department in the hospitals and so on. That's what they use. The VCA stands for these antibiotics, basically, right? Vancomycin, colistin, and piperacillin. All right. The medium that we use for salmonella, remember, the most common one is SS agar. That's the original Shigella salmonella agar, SS. There are two other ones, XLD and DCA. Just remember them. They do ask you. This is in microbiology. Okay. When we study the course, you guys think that, or people out there think that medical lab assistant technicians are all about taking blood. Yes, the majority of you will be, it's easier to find a job in blood sample collection and so on, but some of you will be working in you are trained to work in the microbiology department as well. The problem is not as many are needed in microbiology department. There's how many microbiology department there is, but there's a lot of patients to collect blood from. Okay, so originally they did not ask a lot of questions in microbiology, but lately we see a lot more microbiology questions. Okay, so please pay attention to microbiology. Okay, guys, it's 12:30 right now. We're way behind. We normally should be at 1:30. Not way behind, really. We are. Where did we stop here? At 1:14, right? Okay. I'm just gonna make this one our where we stopped. Okay, where we are stopping, right? So remember that is my reminder where we stopping. Okay, guys. So when are we meeting again?
June 1.
When are we meeting again?
Thursday.
What time?
10 o'clock.
6:30. Okay. Please make sure that you make yourself available to be here on Thursday, and then the Saturday after. We may need another day. We'll do that on the Monday after if we need. We'll try to finish. I don't want to compromise the quality just because of the quantity, just for the time. Okay. We'll make sure that I pour out everything I have and everything I remember to and please tell those ones that are not here today that it's not just about the review itself. There's a lot more in the questions that I provide. Right? As you guys know, just tell those ones that did not come, did not attend. We are supposed to have 55 people. There's only 41. Just tell them you're missing a lot if you are not there. Okay? I can't say I don't care. I care because I want everyone to pass. All right? Okay. And have a lovely, lovely weekend. Enjoy. It's going to be lovely weather. So go and enjoy it. Okay? Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Kamel.
Thank you.
Next week.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Bye.
Thank
See
you, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.